Before switching to Rentvine, we struggled with issues like scalability, issues with outdated features, things that were no longer getting updated or improved. Our system started slowing down. It took longer to run reports. The pages would time out. We had just a number of functionality challenges with our software. And we just had a lot of workarounds, and we realized that over the last 10 to 12 years of our business, we spent a lot of time finding workarounds to make the software work for us. And so it became apparent that that wasn't going to change, and we needed a partner that would be able to accommodate more of our growing needs, that was a more modern technology, and also just integration issues with our third-party vendors. As we built relationships with other vendors in the industry and we leveraged what they had to offer, we found that we just weren't able to get what we needed from our partner. For us, the choice for Rentvine was in some ways a personal decision as well as a professional decision. We had the opportunity a couple years ago to meet some of the owners of Rentvine and just really appreciated their commitment to this product, the hard work that they're putting into it, and they really believe in it, and their product backs that up. And so we were just really impressed on a personal level, enjoyed getting to know them, and never ever felt pressured to make the switch. But they were very gracious in answering lots of questions. We've probably done half a dozen demos over the last 2 to 3 years. And in 2023, we got serious about our decision. It's such a big change for a team that we didn't want to take this lightly. And even though we were really excited about Rentvine, we knew that this really had to be something that our team would buy into. So we built a exploratory team with a few of our staff and some people on our leadership team, and they spent time really demoing, really investigating both Rentvine and then the other competitors to see what it is that we really need, what they have to offer, what would be a good fit for our business going forward. And at the end of the day, the features in Rentvine were really attractive. The customer support was a huge asset to us, and that continues after we've switched. We really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, we knew we had made the right decision because our team started saying things like, "We really love Rentvine. It's so easy to use. We really enjoy it," unsolicited. And so to hear that from our team when the last for years, often what we would hear was just frustration about our previous providers. So we were really appreciative of that it was just not just us at the decision maker level, but it was our staff that was really on board and excited about the system. Of course, the customization is, I would say, unparalleled. So we really appreciated that. We really relied on that with our previous provider, and so we needed that going forward. Lots of demos, lots of patience, never getting pushed. One thing that we did do as well is we spent a lot of time interviewing current Rentvine users, people who had switched from our previous software provider, people who were using the other providers that we were investigating, and the consistency of responses that we got also was really affirming about what Rentvine offers. And so now, having switched, we can attest to what we heard back then is true in our own experience as well. If you are a PM considering switching to Rentvine or switching out of your current provider at all, I would highly recommend seriously considering Rentvine as a potential partner for you. The switch to any software system is going to be really hard. It's going to take time, and it's going to go well if your data is in really good shape, if your books are in really good shape. If those things are not ready to go, it's going to be a harder transition. So as a PM, you have to do the hard work of making your data accurate, of getting your books in order, and making sure that those things are ready to go. If you do that, then any switch is going to be easier. What Rentvine does that we found to be different than what the other providers were offering was ongoing support throughout the entire process. Some of the other providers offered maybe 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week or some very specific limited support option. And that was completely different than our experience with Rentvine. They walked us through every step of the way. We had a lot of questions. We had a lot of data. Switching after almost 14 years in business takes a lot. So if you're a new PM company, the sooner you switch, the easier it's going to be. But what we found to be true was that throughout the entire process, in every aspect of the software, we had support. Sometimes we had questions that couldn't be answered, but we eventually got those answers. They would get escalated and we would get what we needed. Sometimes you find stuff as you're making that transition that the old software system maybe did it differently. And so you do have to learn new ways of doing things, and you will have to change your processes a little bit in certain areas. And that is going to be true of any software switch. It doesn't matter whether it's Rentvine or another provider. But I will say that what we had heard before the switch about the level of customer service and the level of support that we would receive during the transition was absolutely true. And I can't imagine doing this transition without that kind of support. I would recommend that if you are considering a software switch, or if you find yourself in a position where you're being forced to switch softwares, seriously consider Rentvine. They have a lot to offer. It will be different, but change is good. And we have really appreciated our relationship post-transfer. We can vouch for the level of support, the level of communication, the ongoing improvements. They're constantly putting out new adjustments, new features. They've just done an incredible amount of work in the last 6 months even. And that was what we also noticed in our sort of research and evaluation phase. We got to see how many things that they built and updated during the time where we were just even considering whether we were going to switch or not. And that has remained consistent. So if you are coming from a provider that offers you a lot of customization, like custom fields, custom reporting, I would really seriously recommend that you consider Rentvine. In our research, the other providers just did not have that level of customization. There's so much that you can do with Rentvine, and it's a very intuitive, very easy to use system. And so whether you are just starting out or whether you're a more established business, whether you have 10 units or 1,000 units, Rentvine, in my opinion, serves all of us well, regardless of size.